What's going on, people? This is Shy Harris of the Rebel Society, and today we're doing something slightly different. So today we are actually starting a brand new series on this YouTube page called The Blueprint. I know that's a common used title for a lot of different stuff, but what this series is about is we will actually be breaking down the business moves of creatives, entrepreneurs within our culture, and kind of letting you know exactly what is the road that they took to actually get there, to show you guys that there is a blueprint to success. So in our very first episode, we are highlighting and talking about the creative, the retired rapper, the reality star, the podcaster, the media mogul, Mr. Joe Budden.
This is the show where we discuss the harsh realities within our culture.
So Joe's rise of success actually started in the late 90s when he was actually a part of a small crew helmed by DJ Clue during the mixtape era. Small crew featured himself, Fabulous, Paul Kane. They would drop freestyles. I used to listen to these songs pretty much every day in high school. Then from there, it transitioned to him actually being a one-hit wonder, as most people say, with the hit single Pump It Up, which was pretty much everywhere from Fast and the Furious, Stomp the Yard, or You Got Served, one of those dance movies. But the song was everywhere. It propelled Joe to major success at that time. But he was unable to follow it up with a second single, even though Fire was pretty dope. He also had a dope feature on the Marcus Houston clubbing song, but there wasn't much interest outside of that. Because besides being a super lyrical rapper, nothing else in his career at that point really matched up to the success that Pump It Up had. And so from there, he actually got cut from Def Jam. This was probably around 2004, 5, 6, around that time frame. And the internet was starting to boom. Joe took his talents to the internet, where he would release his Mood Music mixtape series, and that allowed him to start building up his cult following. From the Mood Music series, that allowed Joe to transition to being pretty much an internet personality at this time. This is when he started his Joe Budden TV series, where him and then girlfriend Tahiri would actually record their arguments, disagreements, and just regular conversations with friends, sometimes without Tahiri even knowing. This is when a lot of people became more aware of Joe Budden as the personality, because he really showed exactly who he is, showed his personality doing these videos. I was actually a fan of it, especially during the blog era when they used to be on every blog, from Nine Right to Two Dope Boys to Smoking Section to whatever's blog they used to watch or used to read. The Joe Budden TV episodes were always at the top of those lists. Alright, so from there, Joe took his talents and his cult fan base to reality TV. This is when he actually starred in the hood favorite TV show, Love and HipHop, where him and then girlfriend Tahiri kind of show what made them stand out on Joe Budden TV. A lot of arguments, a lot of fights, a lot of crying, a lot of vests, but overall it was very entertaining. I believe that lasted about 2 to 3 seasons, and then Joe was actually off the radar for a little bit. So after a couple of years of still rapping with his group Slaughterhouse and a couple solo projects, Joe decided that it was actually time to start his podcast career. And that's when he started I'll Name This Podcast Later, that was eventually named to the Joe Budden Podcast with Rory and Maul. But this is when Joe officially became a media personality. This podcast allowed him to show his personality as an elder statesman for hip hop, as well as just his takes on everyday life. And during this time frame as well, he actually starred on the Complex show Everyday Struggle. And this show showed him debating current events within hip hop every day. The show, when Joe Budden was up there, was actually becoming the hottest hip hop show in the country, next to The Breakfast Club. But good things don't last forever. So see, after about 6 or 7 months, Joe was actually let go from Everyday Struggle. But it seems like as soon as he was let go from Everyday Struggle, his podcast actually went to another level. And actually the podcast where he talked about leaving Everyday Struggle eventually made it up to 1.1 million views. His stock at that point was at an all-time high. This also led to many people checking out the podcast as his narrative creators having control over their content became more apparent. Later that same year, his podcast secured an exclusive deal with Spotify, which now resulted in their podcast coming out twice a week. And so now we see Joe as the media mogul. From returning to loving hip-hop, to his new show in Revolt, State of the Culture, to his own productions as The Pull-Up, the Joe Budden Podcast, and the Joe Budden Podcast cartoon are receiving rave reviews and getting a lot of attention. And probably a lot of money too. It seems like the next moves for Joe Budden are, just from listening to the podcast, that he's definitely looking to develop and create his own podcast network or even a content network, which me personally, I'm very excited about. So as long as Joe stays on this current path, he will continue to achieve success in his life. So once again, I'm Shad Harris of the Rebel Society. This is The Blueprint. I hope you guys enjoy. Stay tuned for another episode coming soon.